I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, June the 18th, brought to you in part by Performance Livestock Analytics. Owned by the original co-founders from Osage, Iowa. They've got a team that includes 40 individuals with cattle feeding background. Their performance beef software can help you with feeding, herd health, invoicing, closeouts. You really need it, especially if you're doing it for hire for other people. For more information, go to performancelivestockanalytics.com. War in Iran, and it's hard to imagine how that would affect the cattle market. They say that it could affect the grain markets in a big way, but it's just unrest. And your big markets, your stock markets, and publicly traded markets were down hard, and cattle were down severely. I mean, brisk. And I don't know if it's just another correction here in our path upwards, but it felt worse than that. We don't know what's going to happen in Iran. Israel's pretty much got Iran where they want them. They've taken out most of everything they've got and killed most all of their military leaders already. But it's going to be up to President Trump if he wants to go in there and put one of those bunker breakers, those big bombs into their where they're struggling to come up with nuclear weapons. If he wants to do that and take that threat away from the world, if he does that, we won't have to worry about them anymore. They've kind of been taunting us for 40 years now. But I don't know, he doesn't like war, contrary to popular belief, but he may do that and get rid of that threat. But remains to be seen. But boy, your futures were down hard on Tuesday, and your Packers seem to be getting their mojo back. Without JBS jumping the bid every time now that they're publicly traded, they're all playing hardball. Of course, they know your cattle feeders, and they know that they want to trade some cattle and jump on that basis before the board has a chance to rebound later in the week. So they got some cattle traded for on Tuesday, and of course you had guys that were wanting to do it. There were hedged feeders there with that live cattle for June sitting at 223 1/4. It's not going to be any better or as good as last week, but it's not going to be horrible. And so they got some guys to trade. Didn't see much on the USDA report, but most of it happened after 2 o'clock. And I'm going to get you guys up to date on what did happen to start the week off, and it's not good, but it's just what it is. We've got the cattle on feed report coming out here this week, and we've kind of got a messed up week there. We've got Thursday going to be a federal holiday, and then we got a cattle on feed report on Friday. Neither one of those 2 days will you be able to write new policies for LRPs, so you might want to keep that in mind. But the expectations for cattle on feed report come out. They've got the on feed number as of June 1st sitting at 98.8% of a year ago. Placements in May at 94.2, and marketings in May, you knew that was going to be down a bunch because they haven't been slaughtering. They've slashed the slaughter, so it's all the way down to 90.1. But I'm worried about that placement figure. You got guesses from 88 to 97. It landed at 94.2. I think that's low. I think that's too low, because we had a lot of cattle selling in our auctions all through the month of May. We had an outstanding market. People were moving cattle, bringing big bunches of cattle through, and actually in the auctions, you know, our total receipts were almost a 1% higher, and those weighing over 600 pounds were only 2.4% lower. And like I always say, the auctions get the cattle. People take their cattle to the auctions whenever they're not normally auction guys. They take them to the auctions whenever the market's really, really bad and really, really good. So, but they take them there then, and they did in May. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's not a little bit higher. I want to welcome yet another new sale barn to our family of broadcasted barns here. It's going to be Kelowna, Iowa Sales Barn. And Kelowna, we're glad to bring them on. They have all kinds of sales all through the month, and they're really getting the best deal on us because we charge $3.50 a month, however many sales you have. They've got a sheep sale, sheep and goat sale here today. On Wednesdays, they've got a cattle sale. On Thursdays, they have a weekly hay auction. They have replacement sheep sales as advertised. They've got a horse sale every single month, and they have special horse sales as advertised. They have all kinds of sales there. Stuff's going there all the time, but they will be having a sheep and goat sale here today. You can watch it on DVAuction.com, and then their cattle sale on Thursday, and they always have a good fat cattle auction there. So you can view and bid that sale on Thursday. Let's talk about your board for Tuesday. June live cattle down 377 at 223 1/4. August down 490 at 210.65. Your back months were down, but a big range, and it was down as little as 162. And that was the farthest out traded month, and down as much as 435, which was up close here. August feeder cattle down 687 at 303 1/4. September down 667, and your back months down 530 to down 637. But I don't think it hit the limit, so I don't think we're at expanded limits on Wednesday. That might keep somebody from losing their head. Corn for July down 3 1/4 cents a bushel at 431 1/2. July beans up 4 1/2 cents a bushel at 10.74. Kansas City hard red winter wheat for July up 11 3/4 cents a bushel at 547 3/4. Your fat cattle trade on a direct basis in your 5 area region, it wasn't big, but it did get started. Now the only thing we saw that was confirmed through USDA before 2 o'clock was 300 head in Kansas selling at $229. That would be $6 lower than last week. But after 2 o'clock, and I heard through private sources that we did see pretty brisk trading in Iowa and in Nebraska at $235. That's $5 to $7 lower. And we saw some 378 dressed to a regional in Iowa. That was a couple bucks lower there. But of course, they wanted to trade before the board had a chance to go back up so they could get the most of that basis there. But we did have our market finder, our fat cattle auction on Tuesday that always tells us what's really going on, and it wasn't any weaker there. I don't know why more people don't take their fat cattle over to Yankton and dump them out and then let people bid on them and see how much they want to buy them. They had 1,275 in overnight at Yankton, South Dakota at Stockman's Livestock. Had 2,200 head for the auction. Conventional cattle, fat steers and heifers bring from 235 to 248. That's much better than the direct trade. And that was steady to 250 higher. Program cattle, non-implanted or drug-free, selling from 242 1/2 all the way up to 250. I don't believe we've seen 250 yet, but we saw it in Yankton, South Dakota. That was $1 to $4.50 higher. Gary Mark said the quality was better than typical and better than last week. So pretty good fat cattle auction there. Whenever your direct trade's trying to decide how much lower it wants to trade, it's good to see an auction market trading them higher. Box beef cutout values gained big ground again. It just keeps going up. And now your packers have not only decided that they're going to buy fed cattle cheaper, they're going to charge more for their wholesale beef. Choice cuts on Tuesday, $386.51, up $4.40. And now your choice dressed carcasses are much higher again than dressed cattle. so we shouldn't be hearing about the squealing of the red ink quite so bad. Selects on Tuesday 372.54. That was up 507. Your slaughter just up through Tuesday, 2 days of the week, 221,000 estimated cattle slaughter. That's 10,000 less than this point last week, 16,000 less than this point a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Charolais, it's always been there. It's a good breed there if you're looking at making a genetic change, guys. Pounds matter and profit counts. That's a period. That's a no-brainer. You can increase your red meat yield and carcass weight without sacrificing quality, and the important thing is you can do it with industry acceptance. For more information, go to a cool website named poundsmatter.com. Talk about your feeder cattle market, brought to you by Specialty Risk Insurance. They are working to protect your livelihood. Your real-time index late in the day on Tuesday, after your sale barns had all concluded, was sitting at 312.87, up 89 cents. That's some good sales on Tuesday. 312.87 against a August feeder cattle contract of 303.35. Wow. And your latest CME cash feeder cattle index sitting at 313.89. Now I want to tell you, you want to be paying attention to OKC West in El Reno, Oklahoma. Talked to Bill Barnhart there, and he told me they've got one of their best consigners coming in there. The Speak Ranch has got about 1,000 head, 875 to 1075 steers. They're green, right off the grass and wheat that they come off of over there. And those steers are good enough to go north with condition, in a green condition, guys. You don't see that. Get on to DVAuction.com, view and bid those cattle right there on Wednesday in El Reno. Talk about your big sales on Tuesday. How about Ozarks Regional Stockyard in West Plains, Missouri? They had 2,500 head through the ring, another 944 through their in-house video they do with help from DV Auction. The feeders were uneven, much like your big sales on Monday. They were uneven from 5 lower to 5 higher. Calves were sharply lower. It is hot and sticky, and when it is hot and sticky in West Plains, Missouri, it's the worst it can be anywhere. I tell you what, $8 to $16 lower, spots $20 lower. That hot humidity and fat ball and calves are not a good combination there. But still a pretty good sale there in West Plains. Beaver County stockyards did not quite make their 4,000, but got close to it there. Feeders in Beaver County sell from steady to $3 higher. Calves were mostly steady and a light test. Beaver was your Superior Steel Sales, home of Superior Standard Handling Equipment, stick-out sale of the day. Look at these best tested weights and your weight groups there. 222 head of 6-weight steers in Beaver, average 623 at 373.94. 379 head of the 7-weight steers, average 748 at 326.94. 266 head of 8 weights, averaged 880. That's pretty heavy in the average at 295.78. You had 683 head of 9-weight steers in Beaver. They averaged 935 at 298.05. And some of the big cattle, they had 95 head in one swath, weighed 1,002 pounds at 290.25. They had 135 head that weighed 1084, bring 1069. The market reporter did say that the offering was not quite as impressive as it's been for the last several weeks. They've been having just huge runs of big, heavy feeders in there and top quality. This time it wasn't quite as fancy as what they've been selling. Look at the heifers, 222 head of 6-weight heifers, average 655 at 321. 321 head of 8-weight heifers, averaged 860 pounds at 285.88. Let's look at some other markets, top quotes from all around. How about Holton, Kansas? Holton Livestock Exchange there. They sell 126 head of 885 pound steers at $316.75. Go over to Kingsville, Missouri. That is west central sale barn there, just south and east of Kansas City a little ways. They had the Yoder heifers in there that are always got a good condition. Sell 152 head of those Yoder heifers. They weighed 718 at $329.50, and they'll be turned out somewhere, guys, not for replacements. Kimball Livestock Exchange in Kimball, South Dakota sells a big cattle well up there. 190 head of 902 pound steers bring $313.25. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Tuesday in your Macros Inn, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of Bluegrass Stockyards flagship location there, Lexington, Kentucky. Sells 62 steers in Kentucky in the ring in the Bluegrass, 830 pounds at $324.95. And that's your feeder flash for Wednesday.